The man put his head in a particle accelerator. What happened to him? A man stuck his head where? In a particle accelerator, aka atom smasher, which is something that scientists use to study the behavior of particles and conduct physics experiments. Okay, sounds all sciencey and cool, but what's the big deal if someone puts their head in one? Well, what if I told you that these machines use an electromagnetic field to make tiny particles move at practically the speed of light, a whopping 186,000 miles per second? So yeah, a guy stuck his head in one of those and actually survived. You ready to hear all about it? Then just keep on watching. Before we get into all that, don't forget that we have all kinds of informative videos on all sorts of topics here on The Bright Side of Life, so hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of all our daily uploads. First of all, it's not enough to simply tell you if this man lost his head or not. You gotta know about these incredible machines. As the name implies, particle accelerators do just that, accelerate particles. There are two types of atom smashers, linear and circular ones. Both of these accelerators produce beams of charged particles. But while the linear kind propels particles in a straight line, the circular ones move particles in a circle. Pretty straightforward, right? The most famous particle accelerator in the world is the Large Hadron Collider, which is located near Geneva, Switzerland, and crosses the border into France. We'll talk more about this humongous tube a bit later. As for the first atom smasher, it was a lot more modest. It was invented in 1929 by physicist Ernest Lawrence, who was just 27 years old at the time, by the way, known as a cyclotron. No, it wasn't a transformer, just the world's first circular particle accelerator. It was created at the University of California, Berkeley. It had a diameter of less than 5 inches, which is microscopic when you compare it to the 17-mile-wide modern-day Large Hadron Collider. Just imagine how far we've come. Nowadays, there are more than 30,000 atom smashers all over the world, and they're simply irreplaceable when it comes to particle physics studies. But that's not the only thing they're good for. Linear accelerators are used in the medical field to diagnose and treat cancer. In fact, that's basically what X-rays are. Not to mention, with the help of particle accelerators, researchers can modify different materials to create, for instance, better shrink wrap or even diapers. Pretty handy things, eh? This is great and all, but it still doesn't answer the question as to what would happen to a person if they stuck their head in an atom smasher. Well, there's no what-ifs about it. One man actually did it and survived to tell the tale. The incident happened in Russia on July 13, 1978. Anatoly Bugorsky was a researcher at the Institute for High Energy Physics and worked with the U-70 synchrotron, the biggest Soviet atom smasher of the time. On that unfortunate day, the scientist was trying to figure out why a piece of the equipment wasn't working as it should. As he was leaning over the machine, the safety mechanism failed at the worst possible moment. It turned out that the scientist's head was right in the path of a powerful proton beam moving at the speed of light. Bugorsky later mentioned that he felt no pain at all, but saw a light that was, in his words, brighter than 1,000 suns. The proton beam entered the back of his head and exited through his nose. Within minutes, the left side of the scientist's face had swelled up like a balloon, and he was immediately rushed to the hospital. Doctors knew that the beam had burned not only through his bones, but also through his brain tissue. Bugorsky received such a huge dose of radiation that doctors didn't believe he'd survive the next couple of days. You see, the ionizing radiation of a proton beam is measured in gray energy. Just a bit more than 5 gray absorbed by the human body means certain death within 2 weeks. As for Bugorsky, he absorbed about 2,000 gray as the beam entered his skull. When it came out the other side, the beam had already measured at 3,000 gray, so chances were slim. But at the same time, nobody had ever come in contact with radiation traveling at light speed before. That's why doctors couldn't predict the consequences of such an encounter. They could only wait and observe their patient for any changes in his condition. After several days, the skin on Bugorsky's head started to peel in places where the beam entered and exited his skull. The scientist lost hearing in his left ear and suffered from constant tinnitus. That's the name for the condition when you hear constant booming or ringing in the ear. But despite all grim expectations, the physicist survived. In fact, as of 2018, the 76-year-old still feels pretty energetic. Sure, he didn't come out of the ordeal unscathed. Over time, the left side of Bugorsky's face became paralyzed, which has actually prevented wrinkles from forming on that side of his face. He's also suffered from different kinds of seizures since the accident. On the bright side, the physicist's intellect remained intact. He managed to get his PhD and even kept working as a coordinator of physics experiments. And, most importantly, he beat all the odds and came out alive. But what if Anatoly Bugorsky had stuck his head in the Large Hadron Collider? Would he have been lucky enough to survive such an experience? Given that the Hadron Collider is the most powerful particle accelerator in the world, the chances would be even slimmer because this thing is a mighty machine. Situated in CERN's accelerator complex, where CERN stands for the European Organization for Nuclear Research, the Large Hadron Collider is an impressive construction to say the least. It consists of a circular tunnel that's about 17 miles across. You won't find it if you travel to Geneva, since it's located 574 feet underground. It took 10 years to build, and more than 10,000 scientists from around the world took part in the project. Believe it or not, during the excavation and construction, the two ends of the massive tunnel came together within half an inch. But wait, the best is yet to come. The Hadron Collider consists of more than 9,600 super powerful magnets. In fact, they're 100,000 times stronger than the gravitational pull of our planet. This makes protons move around their circular track at a seriously staggering speed. A beam moving through the collider for 10 hours will travel up to 6 billion miles. That's enough to reach the furthest corners of our solar system and make it back to Earth again. The CERN Super Collider is known to generate some really extreme temperatures too. It can get pretty hot in there. I'm talking the universe after the Big Bang hot, aka 100,000 times hotter than the center of our sun. At the same time, the inside of the collider is paradoxically way colder than outer space. And that's because the electromagnets used in it need to be cooled down to cryogenic temperatures in order to conduct electricity without resistance. Its frosty temperatures fall down to negative 556.3 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, indeed, colder than the negative 454.9 degrees Fahrenheit out in space. It's no wonder this complex is hidden so deep underground. Some scientists, however, believe that the Large Hadron Collider can pose a serious threat to Earth. Dr. Otto Rossler from the University of Tübingen is sure that the collider can trigger a small black hole that may have enough potential to destroy the planet. The late physicist Stephen Hawking, however, believed the atom smashers could present an opportunity for time travel. The main problem is building an accelerator gigantic enough to send humans beaming at light speed. How that could send us traveling through time? Well, if Mr. Hawking believed it's possible, I'm sure he knew what he was talking about. As for how exactly that happened, we'll save that for another day. Do you think we'll one day use giant particle accelerators to send people through time? Would you be up for that ride? Tell us in the comments below. If Anatoly Bogorski's story or anything else in this video managed to surprise you, hit that like button and share the link with your friends. Remember to click subscribe and join us on the bright side of life. See you next time.